UFC Paris highlights, guys. I hope you guys are excited. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. UFC Paris 2025 was amazing. It was great. It was nonstop action. I mean, from start to finish, you had Shauna Bannon versus Sam Hughes to the main event. You had Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Guys, it did not disappoint. I'm gonna do my best to kind of give you like a summary of my takes and all the way to like some of the shocking moments and of course the highlights. But you had to have seen it, and if you watched it, then you would have got a good feel for everything that happened, right? And I'll get into that. So if you're a fight fan, you definitely don't want to miss this. Really happy about the UFC Paris recap. Every time the UFC goes to Paris, it just seems to be really good. So that said, welcome back. Welcome to Duality 7X. I'm your host Shiraz. This is where fight sports meets drama, and we cover all the latest and the greatest when it comes to the world of MMA, UFC, boxing, and the WWE. But before we dive all into it, guys, please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more fight talk. And without further ado, let's get to the nitty gritty, guys. Let's get to the main entree here. Look, UFC Paris, in my opinion, was stellar. It was absolutely wild. I'm impressed. I'm really happy. The great thing is, when you think about these time differences and everything between Europe and North America, actually it was pretty good. I was able to wake up, do a couple errands, make some breakfast, do some household stuff, and then I was able to get into it and enjoy the fight. And to be honest, it was the fight after fight after fight. It did not disappoint. I was glued to my seat, and I keep telling you guys, you don't want to overlook the prelims. Just because a fight didn't hit the main card doesn't mean it's just an average amateur type fight. And I'm not saying that you guys think that, but usually in my discussions with a lot of other fight fans, I find that they often miss the prelims and they're focused more on the main event or the co-main event and the main event, right? Prelims are amazing. They're the equivalent of the NCAA when it comes to, you've got all these athletes, performers, fighters who want to showcase to the world what they have because they want a spot on the main card. So they are going to come out, with their full arsenal and full display. And this is why the prelims are absolutely incredible. In some cases, they outshine some of the cards on the main card. That said, guys, I mean, definitely eye-popping finishes to like stunning moments, shocking upsets. I mean, this card had everything. So let's break it down. Let's go to the first one. We got Shauna Bannon. Oh, before I go there, I want to talk about the performance of the nights, actually. I want to get to that real quick. Congratulations to Benoit Saint-Denis, Mason Jones, Ante Delija, and Kyle Fernandez. These guys won the Performance of the Night awards that the UFC gives. So each fighter gets $50,000 for the Performance of the Night. So that was fantastic, and I'll highlight some of those fights here in just a jiffy. So Shauna Bannon and Sam Hughes. So this was interesting, women's fight. Honestly, this one I thought it was going to go the distance. It didn't go the distance. Hughes completely controlled the grappling, and obviously there was a lot of Khamzat Chimaev type vibes in this fight. I mean, first round Hughes took Bannon down and just dominated, with the dominating position, and even got to the crucifix, right? So the ref was on her, work, and Hughes started raining elbows down and, obviously looking for a submission. And then it went to the second round. Hughes caught a kick, took Bannon down, and then, after some like scrambling, Bannon made a fatal mistake, right? Giving up her neck, and then boom, rear naked choke, guys. Fight's over. That's it. Sometimes it takes one wrong move, and Sam Hughes walked away with a clean second round finish. It was absolutely crazy. I mean, real talk. Like, Bannon got hyped up because perhaps maybe where she's from and what have you, but there was a lot of talk about her being the women's equivalent of Conor McGregor. Now, let me be clear, right? She was unfortunately completely outclassed, outgrappled. There was no ground game, and Hughes honestly made her look like an amateur. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And a lot of Chimaev type vibes. Great fight. All right, let's talk about Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Andreas Gustafsson. That this is a fight that I was really curious to watch. Andreas did what he was supposed to do. He came out swinging hard. He even tried to overwhelm Rinat right away, but you can't defeat precision with chaos. You need to have a proper strategy in place, right? And I'm not saying this is like, Oscar Bonavina coming out swinging wildly in a fight against Muhammad Ali, the famous one back at Madison Square Gardens in New York City in 1970. But Oscar Bonavena was known for his wildness at times. He had a lot of skill, but sometimes that skill would just turn into unorthodox type of fighting. And to me, I was like, what's going on here? Because Andreas has a lot of skill. He's a very talented fighter, but he came out almost as if he had a strategy in place and he decided to go with a completely different plan. And what happened was, so Rinat landed a sharp left straight, Gustafsson stumbles, and then the fight was technically pretty much done at that point. I mean, it was done within a minute. And then, of course, he followed up with some head kicks and some ground and pound until, the ref came in and that's it, stopped it, right? It was very clean, technical, brutal onslaught, to be honest, right? So, again, not sure why Gustafsson came in all like wild, swinging heavy, trying to overwhelm Rinat. With that nonstop pressure. It's not going to work. And I was really shocked because I honestly had Gustafsson winning this fight. I was a little surprised that he came in completely unorthodox. Now, but Rinat was the cleaner striker, very technical, and he showed it immediately showed, right? I mean, he had a game plan, and he weathered the early quick wildness storm, if you want to call it that, and then he just went to work, right? And he landed like that sharp left, straight that kind of stopped Gustafsson right there in his tracks. And then after that, it was pretty much game over. It was all game over. It was all downhill for Gustafsson at that point. He was backed up again to the fence, and then a mix of shots, and then a grazing head kick. And then the ground and pound was absolutely vicious, guys. And the ref had to come in and stop it, and it happened all under a minute. It was completely pure dominance. Now Gustafsson is dangerous. He got that, He's got that unbelievable energy, and for a welterweight and stuff like that, I mean, he's got a lot of skill. So I'm really confused. I'm kind of surprised as to what happened here. I'm gonna try to look into this a little bit more, see if there's any kind of follow-up interviews or anything like that. Maybe his camp has got something to say. Maybe he's got something to say. Not sure. But Rinat definitely proved that he was a sharper wrestler and a sharper striker. And more importantly, he found damaging shots early enough to be able to secure that victory and that W right over Gustafsson. So, yeah, I mean, there was some people were actually questioning whether Rinat was actually overrated, prior to going into this fight. But honestly, this performance would definitely have stopped all the naysayers and anyone who's really kind of questioning his abilities, right? I mean, I'm not gonna say his name should be kind of thrown in for like a potential welterweight championship title fight or anything like that. Not anytime soon, but he definitely deserves more credit than people are giving him. And I think if he continues on, if he fights, like I'd like to see what he does in another fight. And depending on how he does in that fight, this could be an opportunity for him to eventually climb those ranks and then maybe get his title shot. But maybe one or two more fights before we actually talk about that. So yeah, Rinat definitely the real deal, and he's going to be a real force in this division. Excited to see what he brings to the table, and more importantly, I want to see if Gustafsson can rebound from this, and hopefully he comes back a little bit better the next time around. All right. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about Brad Tavares taking on Robert Burchak. Now, I was a little surprised with this one too, because Brad, I was expecting, okay, so right off the get-go, from the opening round, it was all Burchak. I mean, he set the tone, all right? He came out aggressive, like really aggressive. I mean, he was ripping to the body, the head, and he was dropping Tavares, against the fence and just swarming him with all this pressure. And those heavy shots, I'm telling you, they did a lot of damage. I mean, credit to Brad. I mean, this guy is he's one tough cookie, man. He's not to be taken lightly. And somehow he survived the onslaught. He even managed to score a takedown in the round. But I mean, it was a clear 10-8 for Berchek. Anyone who was watching it, you didn't have to be a professional judge to be able to count score, but you would know it was definitely Berchek who had the upper hand on that, right? And then round two, this is where things got a little bit interesting, right? Things started to shift a little bit. Tavares wasn't completely down and out, right? Even in round one, he weathered the storm. He started to kind of pick up a little bit of steam, as I mentioned before. He even tried to do a late takedown as well too. But then round two, Tavares started to like hone in and summon some of that experience from past, right? He started to mix in some, very strong body kind of leg kicks, and Berchek, honestly, you could tell Berchek is just kind of starting to slow down a little bit, right? And so maybe I don't know if it was all the lactic acid that was building up in his arms and legs or what, and he came off super explosive in round number one. But then I don't know if he maybe used up a lot of his gas reserves, because now Tavares started to change gears a little bit. All right, and Brad started to claw his way back into the fight, making it feel that, honestly, that we were heading towards a possible draw. Now, provided that he was able to keep up the momentum, and that's the way it was looking. So kind of going into round three, if you had any of that if you have any of those notions that we were going to go into like a decision, like it was going to be a draw, Tavares, I don't know what he was doing. He tried a very, very sloppy takedown. Berchek caught him, and then boom, one big shot, and once again poured on that pressure. He got that second win, and Berchek was all over him. He got him up against the fence. He unloaded, and he kept unloading until the referee had to come in, honestly, and stop the fight. Brad didn't like the stoppage, and I mean, there's going to be a lot of controversy about this. Was it fair? Was it not fair? But I mean, Brad was eating some. I mean, he was getting tattooed in the face, and he was eating some punches, man. A lot of potential damage earlier as well too. Berchek honestly was relentless, and he saw that little opening that he needed, and he took advantage of it. Now, you got to look at Brad's age, right? He's 36. He's not in his prime anymore, guys. And outside of beating an injured Chris Weidman, he hasn't really had much left to potentially offer, right? But at the same time, Berchek deserves more credit than he gets. I mean, he got in there, he showered him with a lot of pressure, heavy shots, and he was relentless. He wouldn't let go. He understood the dynamics of what was going on. Berchek controlled opening round, and in the latter part of the round, you started to see a little bit of that experience come through for Tavares with like an early takedown. And then round two, Tavares started to get that momentum again, and you're starting to think, wait a minute, the shift is changing, the tides are coming in, and we've got to fight now. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, Tavares does this really horrible sloppy takedown attempt, and Berchek saw his opening and just took advantage of it, and he ate it all up. And so Berchek, guys, honestly, is a legit threat. I mean, finishing off Tavares in the third round after dominating early shows that here's a guy who came in, and when he realized that the momentum was slipping out of his fingers, he didn't just kind of cave and buckle and fall apart. He dug down. And this is why this is what separates an experienced fighter from an amateur. Now, both Tavares and Berchek are experienced fighters, guys. All right, these guys are not amateurs, but one just had a little bit more momentum and had the advantage over the other. It is what it is. Berchek is a lot more dangerous than people give him credit for, and I'm excited to see how Dana and the rest of the team use him. In the next, perhaps maybe in the next match or two. Very, very, very interesting. So let's talk about Sam Pedersen, Trey Waters. Sam Pedersen and Waters went toe-to-toe very, very early, right? I mean, they were both showing, throwing sharp jabs, leg kicks, trading blows very early. Then Pedersen honestly landed, boom, a left hook that honestly changed everything. From that moment, Waters was, I mean, he sniped Waters with right hands until the ref had to literally come in and step in. Said, "Hey guys, enough's enough." First round TKO. Patterson striking is super super sharp, and it's composed. He's very 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 deadly. He could be a very dangerous fighter. Somebody I would be very curious to watch. This whole welterweight division, I'm telling you guys, is the new main division. When I was watching this fight to begin with, it looked like both of these fighters were at par with one another. They were very, very similar. I mean, trading blows, striking, everything. They were very evenly matched. And when the ref jumped in, it was a standing TKO, and honestly, very, very good stoppage. I mean, Waters had already eaten 6 or 7 flush right hands in a row. He was on the verge of collapsing. Again, could be somewhat, I don't know, like, can a guy continue after that? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, really, really hard to say. Bottom line, Patterson proved that he's very dangerous on his feet. He's got some great striking capabilities, and he stayed disciplined while he was under fire, and he closed the show with the highlight. I mean, great, worthy finish, big win for the UK fighter. I loved it. It was absolutely incredible. All right, next up we got Harry Hardwick versus Kyle Fernandez. Now, this was pretty interesting. I kind of I was actually leaning more towards Harry on this one. I thought he coming into the fight, I thought he was going to be the more prepared fighter, and he was probably going to. I'm not saying he was going to win in decisive fashion, but I thought definitely he was going to come out with the W. How it happened was Fernandez went straight for the legs, and he made work of Hardwick's legs like nobody's business. He made his knees look like noodles. Okay, brutal calf kicks, constant pressure. Hardwick was barely able to stand. He fell a few times, and honestly, it was very, very difficult for Herb Dean, the referee, to watch it, to see that he couldn't even get up. And eventually it was over. It was a first round finish for Fernandez. His leg game is definitely next level. All right. And the damage piled up so quickly in the fight that it could have been stopped multiple times. It was really hard to watch. It was just bad luck for Hardwick, honestly. He was wobbling. He was stumbling around the cage. I mean, he was clearly in agony. And every time, he tried to reset, Fernandez would just come right back to the calves. And they were like dark, like beet red. They were that bad. Like he was done. It must have been tough for Herb Dean. I mean, he was watching it, and it was really sad to see Hardwick not being able to get back up. And the job was done. I mean, credit to Hardwick. I mean, look, he stepped in on short notice, and even that said, I still thought he was going to be able to get the upper hand on Fernandez, and he did land in a couple good clean shots, during the chaos, but got a little bit of a reaction from the crowd, but not enough to secure the deal for him, unfortunately, or to change the outcome. Fernandez was restless, and those kicks honestly completely shut Hardwick down to the point where he made him inoperable. All right, and look, the only thing I didn't like was Fernandez's taunting while dishing out that kind of punishment. I mean, yeah, great, fantastic, good for you. You're a dominant fighter. You were the better fighter, clearly. But I mean, Hardwick had taken this fight on last minute, and was already sacrificing his body, trying to cut weight, do this, do that, prep his body, and all the things, and the conditioning and everything that needs to go to be able to put on a good performance, right? I mean, you don't need to demean your opponents or anything like that. This is the nasty part of fighting that I just don't like. Like when it comes to class, you got to exhibit some class, especially for the guy that you're fighting, right? And so, I mean, still it was a performance and a half, and it obviously for Fernandez, just proved how dangerous his kicking game is. When I say next level, it's next level. Unfortunately for Hardwick, he's going to be fielding those shots for quite some time to come. Very, very sad. That said, congratulations to Fernandez. He was one of the performance of the night bonus winners, and I think he's going to be happy with that extra cash in his bank account. This one was really good, guys. Tybura versus Delija. This was one of the fights that I really, really wanted to make sure that I was laser beam focused on. Delija had a mission. He came in to destroy, and destroy he did. So let me just kind of break it down for you, right? From the opening bell, Delija just pressured hard. He walked Tybura down, right? He started letting his hands fly, and that's when damage started to happen, right? Tybura tried to clinch up a little bit. There was a couple times you saw he was trying to take some shots, trying to get out of some very difficult situations, trying to look for like an early takedown potentially to try to slow things down. None of that worked. Delija turned it around. He broke free and went right back to the attack. And that, I mean, then all of a sudden Thor's hammer comes right from the sky, and boom, that shot, that nasty uppercut that's literally sat Tybura down, followed by some very heavy ground and pound to just cap it off, and till the point where the referee had to come in and wave it off. Brutal first round TKO. That win instantly puts Ante Delija on the radar as a fresh contender in the heavyweight division. This is such a win-win, guys. Fantastic for Ante. Here's a veteran fighter who just wanted a chance. And he got that chance. And what did he do with that chance? He maximized his potential in that chance. He dismantled Tybura. I didn't think there was going to be dismantling, guys. He dismantled him. And he's trying to make a statement without saying a word. And he did that clearly with the brutality that he exhibited in the ring. The other win is for the UFC, because the UFC is looking for some fresh faces in the heavyweight division. For the longest time, Tybura was the gatekeeper for that division. Now you got a fresh face. Now you got Ante Delija. And he's ready to go, man. He looks like he's just jacked. He looked like he was ready to fight again that night. And so, fantastic for the UFC. That's the kind of performance that they wanted. And now because of his training history with Tom Aspinall and all the additional things that came along with it, I think that showed in the ring. You know, good for him. You know, like Tom Aspinall, one of the greats. He's going to be taking on Cyril Gane, UFC 321. Can't wait to watch that. But he must have learned so much, you know, just by training with the likes of Aspinall. And so this is going to be great. Could we see potentially, you know, Delija getting a crack at the champ maybe sometime at some point? Maybe not anytime soon. But Delija is definitely going to be taking on some other serious contenders, noteworthy contenders in the interim, and we'll see what happens between Aspinall and Gane, and then maybe we'll have another discussion. And look, at the end of the day, Delija proved that he's not just another signing from the PFL. He came in and he did some damage, and again, as I mentioned before. Here's a man who made a statement, and now he's one to watch at the heavyweight, right? And so fantastic to him. He was another performance of the night, bonus winner. That extra cash, I'm sure it's going to help. He was crying. If you watch the fight, he was crying. He was just overwhelmed. Tears were coming out. He just seems like such a nice guy. This meant a lot for him, and I think he realized how big of a deal this was for him. So congratulations to him, and excited to see what he does next time around. Omar Sy versus Brenson Ribeiro. So Omar, he bounced back in style after his loss to Menifel. Ribeiro got a takedown early in the fight, but Omar took control and unloaded some vicious 12-6 elbows, brutal TKO. I think the ref honestly let it go on a little too long. Omar proved that he's back. He's dangerous. And, it's interesting because early on they exchanged some strikes, right? Before Ribeiro kind of landed a jab and a shot for like a takedown, which kind of, he got with like ease, right? I mean, he held some top control. He wasn't doing much damage. Omar scrambled out, used a Kimura attempt, and got back to his feet. And from that, the momentum completely shifted. Right, Ribeiro landed a big right hand and maybe clipped the body with the knee, but Omar responded immediately by taking him down again, and this time dominating with pure fashion. And I mean, once he was on the ground, Omar honestly opened it up with like some heavy ground and pound and mixing in those vicious 12 to 6 elbows, and eventually he trapped Ribeiro against the fence. He took his back and he just started to unload like nobody's business, right? And so anyhow, the finish was violent. It was super violent, and it should have been stopped much earlier. Like, hello, referee, hello, where were you? Sometimes you complain about the referee intervening and coming in a little too early. In this case, he wasn't even there. That was kind of weird, right? So, bottom line, Omar gets a dominant first round finish. But it was completely overshadowed by some very awful refereeing that let it go on too long. But that's my 2 cents, guys. And we'll go to William Gomez versus Robert Rucella. Now, Gomez set the tone early with some very beautiful, beautiful, crisp leg kicks, right? I mean, there was something about the leg kicks in this UFC fight card. But he had some great striking capability, punching his strikes. Rucella tried to mix in some takedowns, but Gomez controlled the striking, and he scored late in the takedowns, but he avoided damage. And a lot of people had him 30-27 on the card, so a very technical, clean win to open up the main card. So great start to the main card. It was a fight that I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit more from Rucella, but I mean, Gomez, he got it. I mean, one judge might have seen it maybe a little bit different in the scoring, but the difference in technique and composure was absolutely evident. It was clear. I mean, it doesn't matter who was watching this, even if it was your first time watching this. Gomez was very, very calm, and he was precise. And more importantly, he was very technical with his abilities. And Rucella was still trying to mix in a little bit of some chaos, some wild shots, some sporadic grappling. It seemed, to me, it seemed like his plan A was failing, plan B was failing, and he was just throwing whatever to the wall and whatever stuck kind of a deal. But well-earned win for Gomez, and to kick off the main card, I was happy. I'm going to kind of rush through some of this here, but I feel like I'm not going to do any justice to it. Axel Sola versus Rice McKee. Now, Sola dominated in this, blooding kind of McKee very, very early, but the stoppage, I feel, was somewhat premature. This is the controversial fight, guys, that everyone's kind of talking about. A lot of people were not really, really happy with this, but it seemed like Herb Dean jumped in a little too early. Sola got the TKO, and the fight showcased, honestly, his striking control and ability. That I get. But it was very frustrating because of the terrible stoppage. I'm not sure why Herb Dean prematurely stopped the call to this fight as early as he did. Sometimes it just happens, maybe from his perspective. Look, Herb was a lot more closer than we were in that ring, so he clearly saw some things that he didn't like. Yeah, I don't know, man. Do you trust Herb Dean in a lot of these big fights? And sometimes I feel like he just kind of jumps in a little way too early, and potentially ruining what could have been a solid contest. But then again, we're talking about the health and safety of our fighters, and I think that honestly is more important than anything else. I mean, we just lost a couple fighters in this past week, Japanese boxers, two fighters fighting separate fights on the same card, who died within 1 week after the fight. I mean, there's a lot of craziness that's going on, unfortunately, in the world of fighting. But yeah, I still think that this fight was ended a little prematurely. Sola gets the third round TKO, and he wins. But I mean, the fight itself was better than the stoppage suggested, and solid performance. But unfortunately, it's marred with a little bit of controversy. It is what it is. Moving on to Oki versus Mason Jones. Now, Bolai Oki, he came out guns a-blazing, nearly finishing Mason Jones in the first round. I was shocked. I was like, whoa, what the heck is going on? I'm sure there was a lot of people who put their money on Jones and they were like, I just lost all this money or I'm about to lose it. But I don't know what was up with Oki, man. He came out so fast that it seemed like he burned out all his jet fuel right off the bat. And Jones's experience started to kick in and the gear started to change at that point, and he capitalized in round number 2 with a beautiful takedown, with some followed up with some icing on the top at some ground and pound. Incredible comeback from Jones, turning a near loss into a dominant win and earning himself a performance of the night bonus. Again, another beautiful performance. I kept thinking, if Mason Jones can survive this kind of flurry, like in the onset, right? Especially in the early rounds like this, and there's a possibility he could steal the fight, and he did. It's like, I don't know what was up with Oki's cardio, but I mean, in under a minute and a half of just trying to get the finish, look, you can't compromise quality for quantity. All right, like, precision always trumps chaos. It is what it is. If you're gonna go in there guns a-blazing and throwing out all your arsenal, dishing out all your arsenal in one go, you better hope that you get the job done. Because if you don't, then you don't really have much left to be able to handle the rounds ahead. And you really better hope that you've got enough cardio and gas in the tank, and followed up with some skills to be able to go in there empty-handed. And Oki burned all of his resources right off the bat. He was definitely empty-handed. Mason saw the opportunity and he just took over. He pulled the insane comeback, surviving that opening onslaught, dominating in the second. Absolutely incredible. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. I really hope you guys watched this fight, but that's why he got the performance of the night bonus. Absolutely beautiful victory. Now I want to talk about Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. A lot of people have been talking about this. I mean, Bukauskas came out strong. I mean, dominating with striking exchanges, and finished Craig with a very nasty, filthy elbow. First round, KO. Craig retires after this one. It's really sad to see that he did, but I think he made the right move. He just didn't look. He just was off, and Bukauskas made a brutal statement. I mean, at one point Craig tried to threaten with trips and body locks and pulling his guard down toward the end of the round, but Bukauskas was like, Modestas was like, he was relentless. I mean, and right before the round ended, he landed a very nasty elbow that I was talking about, and it literally led Craig lifeless. I mean, on the canvas. The bell rang and the referee, and then Mark Goddard kind of hesitated for a moment, but it was clear Craig was done. He was done, and it was a long time coming. Like, everyone kind of had a feeling about Paul, but he has such an impeccable career and an impressive resume. His striking unfortunately has never been his strong suit. Pulling guard against somebody like Bukauskas, like, I get what he was trying to do. I mean, if that's all that he had against Modestas, it wasn't enough, right? And I mean, you can't, it was a recipe, honestly, for disaster. Bukauskas was just too aggressive. He was a bull coming into this, and he made a statement that, yeah, he would smoke anyone like Bo Nickel, who barely went the distance against Craig, right? So in the post-fight, it was sad but inevitable. Craig retired. The young fighters continue to eat the old in the sport. It's really sad to see, but also, it paves the way for new talent and exciting talent, explosive talent, and that's what people want to watch. They don't want to watch if you're at the tail end of your career and you're not going to be able to perform like how you did like 10, 15, 20 years ago, then maybe it is time to walk off. And it's actually better that you do, otherwise you risk potential injury, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see anyone, especially at Paul's age, get hurt. So I think he did the right thing. Yeah, can't rely on guard against a precise, heavy-handed striker. You just can't. Now I want to talk about Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Ruffi. Wow, what an amazing fight. I mean, the French fighters did absolutely crazy in this card, and Benoit definitely had the home crowd on his side. Mauricio was exposed a little too early. Benoit took him down, controlled on the ground, and he just finished it with a beautiful second round neck crank. It wasn't even close, guys. Benoit looked dominant and reestablished himself as a legit contender. Had some beautiful words at the end as well too for the audience. Fantastic. It's great. You want to see those kind of stories right from the start. You know, Denis came out strong. He landed a nasty body kick, immediately took Huffy down, and he started controlling him on the ground, right? And then at that point, Ruffi was kind of like he was scrambling a little bit, you know, and Mauricio just didn't have enough. He was frozen. He gave up in the second round. The Paris crowd could sense it, and Mauricio's corner looked completely lost. They didn't have an answer to BSD. They did not know how to contend with a fighter like this, or how to re-strategize, what to do to be able to contend with his aggressiveness. And if his corner looked completely lost, you can only imagine what Mauricio was thinking as well too. He had no idea what to do after that. And in the second round, BSD just continued pushing forth his dominance, one takedown after another, and then a rear naked choke, and it just wasn't a submission. I mean, it was a neck crank that looked borderline over the lips, kind of, right? Mauricio didn't even resist. I mean, at one hand, he had his hand on the mat ready to tap, and eventually he did, right? So who knows? He was exposed pretty badly. There was a lot of people, including myself, that had my concerns, you know, feelings about him, and yeah, you know, any hype about him being the Brazilian equivalent of Conor McGregor, completely misplaced, guys. The BSD, on the other hand, looked dominant in his total control throughout. His strength, his technique, his conditioning was 100% at par. His confidence, you had the hometown crowd behind you. It was textbook dominant performance from start to finish, and the Paris crowd was going insane watching it. We were going insane watching it. It's great to see that he's got his winning streak back on track now with the second round neck crank, and love to see what he does in the next one. But that was enough to also give him the performance of the night, and perhaps maybe reestablish himself as a top 15 legit lightweight contender. On the other hand, for Mauricio, it's back to the drawing board, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people talking about this performance or lack of, and see what happens with him. And then, of course, that was the co-main event. Let's go to the main event, guys. Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Wow, this middleweight showdown with title implications. Everybody knew what was on the line. There's a possible opportunity for one of these guys to go toe-to-toe with Khamzat. And I don't think anyone really wanted to miss that. You know, it was from the beginning. Imavov controlled the distance early. He landed some deep leg kicks, and he stuffed these takedowns. And he kept, like, Borralho tried with the takedowns, but he kept stuffing them. He kept like withering out, and he was very slick and fast, and like super fast, like almost like video game-ish fast. And he kept Borralho guessing. There was a few low blows, and, you know, poke to the eyes and stuff like that. A little bit of stoppage here and there, but wow, solid. Imavov was just too much, I think, for Borralho. You know, a lot of people thought Borralho was going to win this one. I was kind of leaning towards that as well too. But now things really change, right? Now when you have the likes of Imavov potentially taking down Khamzat, that's going to be interesting. Now, the only thing is, though, Imavov's takedowns weren't. I didn't really see a lot of his I saw his striking capabilities were unbelievable. They were very superior. Like, he did very well with the striking, whereas Khamzat's takedowns are very hard to deal with. So this is going to be an interesting fight. I mean, look, to see these guys, to see Borralho and Imavov, fight the way they did. There was a point, honestly, I thought Borralho was going to be finished off a little bit earlier. But he's got a good jaw on him. He's one tough guy. But after that low blow, that groin strike, I mean, Imavov and had an eye poke, and it was starting to get a little bit ugly. But they were very, very classy towards one another, which I really liked. You could call it rounds 1 and 2 were mostly Imavov controlling the distance. It's really, really hard to get past those leg kicks, guys, and those clean strikes. I was absolutely blown away with how technical and how clean those strikes were. Anyways, Nassourdine, I think the one thing I'd like to see is, I want to see some more takedowns from him. I want to see what he can do when he does get even the likes of like a Borralho down on the canvas. Can he hold him down there? Because if he can't, he's going to have a very difficult time doing that with Khamzat, right? And I mean, yes, he's got those clean striking capabilities. It almost looked like Borralho looked a little bit tired at some points. I don't know. Imavov, honestly, to me, he's just the dominant fighter in this one. He came back, there was actually a point where Imavov himself looked kind of tired and a little bit gassed, in the latter rounds. But he also came back very strong. He looked very fresh, very crisp striking. That's one of the things that was a highlight for me. And to see him potentially take on Khamzat, bring it on, guys. I think this is going to be an intriguing fight. You've got striking versus wrestling. Whew. That is going to be great. Some people have Imavov on that one. I still think Khamzat's got this one. Anyways, guys, this guy's definitely no joke. And Imav, jeez, I don't think I'm going to get this right at all, guys. Nassourdine, he actually he didn't call out Khamzat, but he called out the belt, which is interesting. So I'll let you watch this video here right at the end. That's my take, guys. If I'd love to hear yours, your thoughts and comments. Please put them in. Tell me what you think about how Paris UFC turned out for you. Is it just another card for you, or were you impressed? Leave your thoughts and comments below, and smash that like button. Hit the subscribe. Stay locked in, guys, for more fight talk. This is Duality 7X, and before you guys go, watch this quick little video with Nassourdine Imavov and his call out to the belt. Not Khamzat, but the belt. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great one. We'll see you on the next one.
Nassourdine Imavov, listen, congratulations, brother. And final message for Khamzat Chimaev.
Félicitations, je suis content pour lui. Il a gagné la ceinture. C'est quelqu'un que je connais, je sais que tu t'attends à un... Je suis le prochain pour combattre pour la ceinture. Est-ce qu'il aura toujours la ceinture à ce moment-là? Est-ce que peut-être qu'il va monter de gâteau ou descendre? Parce qu'il parlait. Il m'a pas call out, donc j'ai pas envie de le call out. Je veux juste combattre contre la ceinture et je call out la ceinture. C'est vraiment à mon tour.
Il a dit félicitations. Sorry, he said congratulations, congratulations for the victory, congratulations for the belt. I don't want to call him out. I want to call out the belt. If he has the belt, of course we're going to fight for the belt. If he goes up in weight class, I'm going to fight for whoever got the belt. My goal is the belt, is not Khamzat Chimaev.